Hello, everybody. Good morning. It's February. Welcome to another week of lives. I hope everybody had a good weekend, minus the trade wars that are going to begin, but I guess we'll see what happens. And what is the live for today? Well, we are going to be talking about the L1 and the specific requirements of what is required for an investment on the L1. Okay, done lots of different videos on L1s before, but I always like to break it down into its little component parts. Makes it more understandable, more enjoyable, and more easily understood. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll go through my live. I'll explain about the subject, and then afterwards, I will get to as many questions as I can before I have to cut off and essentially go to my other consultations that I need to do. Okay? And if I don't get to your questions before the end, I'll try to get to them later. And if not, well, hop onto another live, ask me again, and hopefully I'll answer. You don't have to ask the same question more than once here. I know a lot of people, they'll like put the questions at the beginning here, and then I won't answer it because I'm doing my spiel on whatever the subject is, and then I'll ask again, and then I'll have to remember that I answered it. Okay, so you don't have to repeat it. I will get to it, but if you want a better chance than not that I answer your question here today, ask your question sooner than later. Okay, the last few lives I've done, once I start approaching near the end of my spiel, the questions start rolling in, and I have to generally leave relatively soon thereafter to do what I have to do, and so I can't get to a lot of them at the very end. So, just letting you know. Okay, so what is the L1 first of all? Just briefly, it's an intercompany transferee visa. What does that mean? Well, it means that someone has a business in their home country and they want to open up a branch office here in the U.S. Okay, that's the bottom line. And so the question people ask is, well, is it an investment visa? How much do I have to invest? And so forth. Okay, well, first of all, under the pure technical, the pure technical definitions of an investment visa, an L1 is not. Okay? Definitely an entrepreneur type visa, people who like doing their own business. But whereas you have the E2 or the EB5, that have absolute specific requirements for the amount of money, and that's an integral part of the petition, the L1 is not quite like that. Now, given that I said it's not an investment visa, and the amount of the investment is not integral to the petition itself, don't get me wrong. The amount of the investment is important. Okay, there's things you need to show, or it will be denied. Okay, so first things first, there's no minimum investment. Okay, although I could say the same thing for an E2. Although with an E2, you need about 100,000. So given that, but the laws on an L1, there's no minimal investment. So what do they look at? What do they look at to determine that you've invested in the U.S. company an amount you should invest? Well, they look at the business itself. They look at the business operations and they see, well, is it viable? Can you run a business on the amount that you put in here realistically? So let me exaggerate. Let's say that, you have a shop in London and you sell curios and fishing tackle, and you want to open up, near Michigan because they have a big lake, to basically do the same thing. Okay? We're just using this as an example. So let's say that you invest $100 in the company in the U.S. Well, everybody and their mother knows that that's not going to work, that it'll be denied. And why? Well, think about it. What can you do with $100? You can't pay employees. You can't rent a place to have your business. You can't pay taxes. You can't market. You can't do any of that stuff. So $100 isn't going to work. What do you need? What can you realistically put in a business like this to make it seem realistic? Well, first of all, you of course need to have your own real office. Forget the home office thing. Okay, I know a lot of businesses you can do a home office. I know that, okay? But we're not talking reality here. We're talking immigration. And you want to get approved, right? So forget the home office. I mean, some people, they're stubborn. And they say, well, I don't want to pay the $300, $400, $500 a month rent when I can do the same thing at home. I go, okay, that's fine. If you were a U.S. citizen or lawful permanent resident and immigration didn't matter, but immigration does matter, and you want to come on the L1 and forget about the home office. It doesn't do you any good to save money on paying rent if you don't get the visa, right? So once we have that conversation, they can rent a small office. I mean, you know how sometimes you get these Fijian type offices where, $200-$300 a month and you get the nameplate on the building, on the templates where all the other tenants are. And there's a joint, lobby room and conference room and bathrooms. And basically you get one little dinky office on the 3rd floor or whatever. Okay, that's fine. Doesn't matter as long as it's a real office. So you can show the office lease and how much. So let's say you get that for $400 a month. Okay. So, obviously you have to show you can pay the $400 a month with what you've invested. Now you have to have real employees. You can't have nobody working for you on an L1. Okay. So if you think you can do it all on your own, which maybe you can, is not going to help you with immigration. So you got to have somebody or different people, even if it's not full-time. Maybe a part-time accountant, maybe a part-time secretary, maybe a full-time secretary, maybe someone who does marketing, whatever. 2-3 people. It doesn't have to be a lot. I mean, I have people who think that you have to have the size of IBM and hundreds of people on the U.S. side to do an L1, and it's not true. But then I have people who think they can do it all on their own too, and that's not true. So the reason we're talking about the amount of people is because when you do the investment, you're going to correlate the amount of the investment with the number of people that you've hired. So let's say you have 2 or 3 people. Okay, you have normal salaries for them, and let's say you have the the rent, $400 or $500 a month or whatever, and then of course you have to have products and computers, and you have to run the place and all that. So when you think about it, if you invest $10,000-$20,000, give or take, you can make decent arguments that that's enough to capitalize a relatively small company. You can show that it has enough to pay the rent, that it has enough to, pay the salaries and to keep the company going for a little bit. And then in the business plan, which we always have to do for an L1, you can show how the income that's going to come in will further capitalize and allow you to continue forward. I've done a lot of successful L1s that have had, $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 as an investment and been able to sufficiently show that. Obviously, if you do a big restaurant or a restaurant, that's not sufficient. No how, no way you can show that $20,000 is sufficient to get a restaurant, okay? So you have to correlate the investment with the business, and it has to be a realistic argument that is sufficient money to capitalize and run the business. And that is the amount of investment that you need to do an L1. So while the L1 definitely has more work on some parts of it than E2s, for example, in that you have to show a ton of different documents from the foreign operation, and assuming it's not English, with a lot of them are not, you have to translate them. Okay, they ought to be translated, and that takes time, that takes money. Okay? But then on the other side of it, you can keep that business running, come here, do the L1, have the proper investment, and then a little tidbit secret, if you keep it running for a decent time, you can then apply for an EB1C multinational manager visa for the green card. One of the best underutilized ways to get the green card known to mankind. Okay? So that's the fact. All right? So that's the spiel on investments with the L1 and why you don't need to have a ton of money to do it, but you have to have enough to show that there's sufficient capitalization to run the company. Okay? All right. Well, thank you for the likes, everyone. Appreciate it. Let me go back here to the beginning and see if we have any questions. User 3840 and 20 more numbers got the number 3 gifter badge. How come you don't change your name to something easier? All right, let's see. Okay, you said DADA, but I assume you mean DACA. As a DACA recipient, is marriage or children over 21 any option to citizenship? Okay, well, first of all, don't confuse citizenship with residency. Okay, you don't just hop in to become a citizen. First, you have to become a resident. So DACA, resident, and citizen. And I would need more information from you to know. Okay, so first of all, the question is, you're probably here and did not enter legally. Okay, and because of that, you likely are not going to qualify to adjust in the U.S. But that does not mean that you can't apply and get the green card. You know, things are ending. I mean, everybody knows that, right? Anything regarding immigrants is Trump is going to try to end. That's a fact. I mean, Venezuela TPS just ended and things aren't that much better over there. So you have to try, if you qualify, to do what you need to do to get the green card. So if you have to leave the country with a provisional waiver of inadmissibility, hopefully approved, and then eventually just come back, then that's how you do the residency. I have a lot of people I do provisional waivers for, and they're gone for only a week or 2 weeks. Okay, that assumes you're not inadmissible on any other stuff. Okay. Alrighty. Let's see, what else do we have here? Let me just scroll down here. Let's see. If I have a DUI 21 years ago, is it going to have problems if my wife starts the process? Okay, well, I mean, it depends. Hey, we got to 3,000 likes, guys. It depends. Okay? Generally, a DUI, and it depends what jurisdiction you're in, but generally, a DUI does not make you inadmissible. I mean, there's issues regarding discretion of approvability, but just pure inadmissibility and good moral character, generally, it doesn't affect that. So I need to, first of all, determine if you, for example, qualify to adjust. Is your wife a U.S. citizen or lawful permanent resident? How did you enter the country? Do you have just a DUI or is it an aggravated DUI? What's the dealio? Okay? So the answer to your question generally is if it's done properly, you can. But I need to know where the DUI was and have statutory language on to see if there's any mens rea in there, things like that. Okay? But don't just wait. People should not just wait out of fear that it'll be denied or they'll be put in removal proceedings if they start. I mean, by not doing anything, you're taking more risk, especially the way things are today, than doing something. If you have a path to get out of the nightmare that Trump's going to try to make for everybody, you need to jump in full force and take it. Okay? Just get a good immigration attorney like myself to help you. Okay? That's a fact. All right. Let me scroll down here. Hope everybody's enjoying the beginning of their week. But do people really enjoy Mondays? Well, some do. Okay. Let's see. I'm just scrolling down here to see if there's any questions. A lot of people that joined, but not a. Oh, V. It's funny that the number 3 gifter badge before was some guy named User and then 20 numbers, and this guy got the number 3 gifter badge with just V. Sort of the other end of the scale. Okay. Let's see, just a minute. Okay, you came here with a C1D visa. My wife petitioned me with military parole. Okay, so we just hit 4,000 likes, guys. Okay, you know that with a C1D, you don't qualify to adjust status normally. Okay, and they made that specifically so people wouldn't jump ship and then try to adjust status. However, if your wife is in the military, the question is, can she do a military parole even though you entered on a C1/D? And the answer is, I can think of good arguments why it should be done. Okay, why you should go forward and try to do a parole in place based on the military status of your wife and then adjust based on that. Now, I can see where immigration would argue that even with parole in place, the fact you're on a C1/D takes precedence and you don't qualify to adjust. So there's arguments on both sides. So if I were you, I wouldn't just sit around waiting. I would do the parole in place, try to do the adjustment. If it comes out that they argue reasonably that the C1/D, bar on it takes precedence, then of course you can always do, assuming you're not inadmissible on any other ground, do the consulate processing with the provisional waiver of inadmissibility. Okay? All that makes sense? Xylo got the number 3 gifter badge. Everybody's getting the number 3 gifter badge. Where's number 1 and number 2? I don't get it. Okay. Let's see. I'm just scrolling down here just to see if we have any more questions. Hey guys, can we get up to 5,000 likes? We got 600 more to go. I'll tell you what, I'll stay on and answer questions until I got 5,000 likes. Okay, can you be deported while a pending case to the BIA and the I-130 petition's approved? Okay, pre-Trump, I'd say there's no way you can be deported when something is pending at the BIA, because when you have something pending at the BIA, by law, it's an automatic stay of deportation. It doesn't matter that the I-130 petition's approved or not. It matters that it's pending at the BIA. There's nothing to date that shows that has been revoked, that the automatic the automatic stay of deportation has been revoked. Once we got 5,000, yeah! Once it's been sent up there. But you need to be concerned about whether you have a real chance of winning here. So who did the I-130? Why is it approved now? Was it approved at the immigration court? Was it already approved and denied for some reason? Like if it's a marriage petition, did they think the marriage was not bona fide? Okay, so I need to have more facts. Generally, as it stands now, you shouldn't be worried too much about the deportation, but you should be more worried at this point about trying to win. Okay? All right. I think, just a minute, it scrolled all the way down. I think I got all the questions that were on for today. Oh, hey, Des Grammar got the number 2 gifter badge. Yay, there's number 2, but I still never seen number 1. And Sarah got the number 3 gifter badge. So the number 1 gifter badge is to somebody who's anonymous that I have no idea who it is, but I appreciate it anyways. Okay. So, believe it or not, Des Gamer, I know you asked this question before, where you make $90,000 with an LLC from your country. Do you qualify for business waiver, criminal grounds? I think the only difference between this question is you put why you're inadmissible. And the answer is it doesn't matter that you're making $90,000 with an LLC from your country. That's irrelevant. The question is, what type of business visa do you want to come on? And then I understand that you're inadmissible because of criminal grounds, but I need to know what the crime was. I need to know if you're an aggravated felon. Okay, I need to know if you want to apply for a non-immigrant visa. I mean, since you have an LLC from your own country, maybe since you're on this particular live, you're interested in an L. And if you are interested in the L, do you qualify with the investment to come and open a branch office here? And then, assuming that's the case, we can do what's called the non-immigrant waiver of inadmissibility. But it depends what your crimes are. It depends how many you might have. It depends if, they're still active, if you've finished parole, things like that. So it's definitely doable. But contact my office, okay? All right. I think we're coming to the end of our live for today. Oh, you guys, we got it. Now we got 5.9. We got 5,900 likes. Now, I can't possibly stop unless we get to 6,000. It's just, we got to 6,000. Yeah, right. Okay. I appreciate it, guys. Thank you. Okay. Well, anyways, I think that does the live for today. I've answered all the questions for today. So what I'll do is I will get back on with the next subject at my next live. I hope at this point everybody enjoys the questions. I definitely appreciate all the likes, guys. And if I didn't get a chance to answer your questions, go ahead and contact me in any of the numerous ways that I have available. Obviously there's the normal old-fashioned email. But you can message me on WhatsApp, TikTok, Instagram. I don't use Stitch. I don't know. I haven't found that to be easy or useful, but who knows? Maybe that'll change in the future. But at any rate, everybody enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll be back on the next slide.